Hello everyone, welcome back to the non-league treatment room with me, Cookie. As always, Davo is alongside me. How are you, mate? You good?
Very good, mate. Are you?
Yeah, not bad. Looking forward to this one.
You are, aren't you, mate?
Yeah.
You've been texting me all week. Long life Cov fan.
Yeah. So I'm a bit nervous at the minute.
You're never nervous, mate.
So loads of problems with the camera.
Yeah.
It's all good. I think we should first say well done to Hinckley.
Yes, absolutely.
Well done to Hinckley. They've won the league in step 6, so they are now going to be promoted, which is amazing. Well done to Belf and the gang.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solihull got to Wembley.
Yes, congratulations to
in
them.
the trophy, so congratulations to them and Andy Wing.
Yeah.
Worcester, they won the league. Worcester City.
Yeah.
They've been confirmed.
Are they had their...
Well, they won the first leg. It's the second leg.
Okay, superb.
So they're 1-0 up, I think, in the first leg.
Yeah, they are, yeah. Did you see the goal?
I didn't know.
Absolute worldie.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'll have to have a look at that. So, yeah, massive well done to those guys. But let's get our guest in. We're looking forward to it. So, in the treatment room today, we have Coventry City legend from the grassroots of football to the grand stages of professional football. We get to hear the incredible journey and events that shaped his career. Please welcome Dave Busst.
How are you, Dave?
Evening, fellas.
All good?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to come on and have a chat.
No worries at all, mate.
We really appreciate it. We really do. Your story is incredible. I think a lot of people know, and people are going to come to learn about your story and your journey in football. But we will start with, what does football mean to you? Especially back when you were playing, but also now as you're still involved in football, what does it mean?
I think there's sort of 3 stages to football. Obviously, my dad was heavily involved in football, managing and playing. I've got an older brother, younger sister. She didn't play, but my brother played as well. So it was the formative years of me was, I'm not a great watcher of football, if I'm honest. You know, I'd rather watch highlights and have a chat rather than watch a live game or anything like that. And that was pretty much growing up. You know, jumpers for goal posts out in the streets when you were allowed to be. These days you probably wouldn't be able to.
That's it, yeah.
So, you know, mum calling you in 9:30, 10 o'clock, have your tea, because, you know, it's too dark to be playing out. So I just wanted to play football. And it doesn't matter about level. For me, football is about enjoying it. So it doesn't matter what standard you're playing at or whatever you get out of it. That's the most important thing, and it's a great way of building that, you know, friends. Most of the friends that I've got are through football and being at different clubs over the years, and you know, that's what it means. So
superb. So I want to take you all the way back, if I can, Dave. So you're talking about jumpers for goalposts. We want to go all the way back to, where did it all start for you, mate? Who was your first team, and how did you first connect with football?
Oh, first team was it was the Cubs, actually, because I'm 56 years old, so you weren't allowed. It was under 11s before people started playing in teams. You know, in your, I think, year 6 or 4th year primary school.
Yeah.
When I was there, and that was the first time a team was formed. I mentioned my brother earlier. He was in the 4th year. I was in the year below, and used to go watch and would join in with him, and then we went to Cubs. I only went to the Cubs because they had a football team, and again I was about under 8, and I was playing for the under 10s team, and I wasn't interested in being in the clubs, but as soon as I found out there was football going on the certain nights you could play for the team, I went there. First club, obviously went to Peterbrook Junior School in Solihull. They also, through the lads that played, a couple of the parents started a team called Peterbrook United, and we were awful, if I'm honest. I used to play up front. I was a left winger. I was pretty pacey, mop of blonde hair, but we got battered. I think the first year we won one game, scored a hat-trick in it, and it was against the team that finished bottom, but we were losing 8, 9, 10, 11 every game, except for that one game. And they used to have a Losers' Cup back then as well.
Really? So,
and we won that one 3-0, and I scored a hat-trick in that. And I remember the first trophy I got was for being man of the match in that. But so under 11s, Peterborough United. And then what happens is you play some of these teams. So we were playing in the Castle Vale Boys League then. And the team that we used to play against called Bailey's Colts. There was 3 of us that were were quite good. There was twins, Stephen and Stuart Toombs. One was centre half, one was midfield, and I played up front. They were based over King's Standing, and then they came in and wanted to poach the three of us from our team, and we used to go on a bus from Solihull into town and then out of town into King's Standing with my friend's mum, and just to go and play football at Burford Road, King's Standing, just to train on a Friday night. So again, with me, football's about supportive parents and wanting to do things like that. And so the three of us went over to Bailey's Colts. Had a really successful year. We won everything. Cup, 2 cups, the league. Had a couple of seasons there. And then at that time, there was a team called Dunlop Terriers, who were a massive. So to put it into its context, you was only at school, but you could sign a schoolboy at under 14. So no teams, you couldn't train with a professional club. So Aston Villa at the time had a team called Dunlop Terriers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And so we played for Dunlop Terriers. We went round in an Aston Villa minibus. We wore Aston Villa kit, and the team were pulled from all over the Midlands,
Right.
and we were really successful. So when I went there, that was under 14s, and we were just forming the team, and I spent 2 years there. At under 16. Out of the 13 players that we had in that team, 11 got signed apprenticeships, YTs, whatever the word was back there, and there was me and another lad that weren't selected. So they all went off to. Actually, they moved to Leicester then. So the last year under 16s, we then playing with a Leicester City. We used to go round in a Leicester City minibus, and we had Leicester City kit on. Cov fans will hate me. I'm mentioning Villa, I'm mentioning Leicester City. It's only as I was saying that to you then, I was thinking, you won't realise. And there's a picture of me as a kid in an Aston Villa kit. Believe me, I was not an Aston Villa fan. My old man was, and my brother was massive fans. I was a bit of a Leeds United fan when I was growing up. Alan Clark was the centre forward, and that was the first kit I had. Easy kit, white socks, white shorts, white t-shirt.
Filthy.
Put a smile on your face, So, as I say, I didn't really follow football. So at 16, I think you get it from me is it's about enjoying football. I loved it, no matter whether we best team in the league or worst team in the league. I just enjoyed playing football. Left school, wasn't playing for anyone. Went to work for Britannic Assurance, who were based in Moseley. They were playing in the Works League. I couldn't get in the first team. I was in their second team again. I was only, probably 5 foot tall, a little bit dumpy. And then it was probably the biggest thing that had an influence on my career, because the physical side of playing in the Works League. So all the big, old countries, companies, GKN, insurance companies, they always have staff works teams, well looked after, good facilities. All the banks had great recreational facilities. And Britannic Assurance, where we were playing, we had underfloor heating in the changing rooms, we had baths, we had showers, we had our own bar, we had snooker tables, table tennis. It was unheard of. So I spent a few years there, spent about a year there. Then I went to play for Seal Hill 7th in the AFA. Got injured in my first game. So missed out, and then I went and just played the rest of the season, 16 in the Works Leagues. Got into the first team eventually, and playing full-back, playing against big physical players, which I said the biggest influence is getting used to playing men's physical football. And then, where did I go? I was playing on. My dad ran a Sunday cycle, which were Wanderers, which was a lot of young lads playing at a decent level, and we were pretty successful as well. Again, playing in a decent Sunday league football was a lot more competitive than what it probably is these days. And I ended up going. My dad was like a scout, something to do with Solihull Borough back then. Went to their reserves, got in the first team for the odd game, but wasn't playing regular football, and went to Kingsheath. And there was a good connection with the players there, and again started off in their reserves. Went into the first team, and after about another year, we played Moor Green in the Birmingham Senior Cup. We drew them 0-0 at our pitch, and then they beat us 1-0, I think it was, I think it might have been Highfield Road then as well, weirdly.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, it was Highfield Road in Hall Green. These little segues just connecting with where we went. I had an absolute brilliant manager, Bob Faulkner. We were talking about Oogie, Paul Oliman before, and he'd spent 25 years before sadly he passed away. But he was a great he was a great manager. Great manager. I didn't really know a lot about football, but he connected players together. He got them to come in. He had his own views and things like that. But he'd just come away, throw away comments. You know, if we'd lost 3 or 4-0, he'd just come up, Busst, you were shit today. And anything constructive, Bob? Yeah, you were still shit. And, you know, it was that. But I got to sort of like that way. And we did it. And there was a guy called Andy Dwyer who we brought in as a number 2, who was at Tamworth, who went on to be at Tamworth with Paul Hendry. Around about a similar time, and he'd done his B licence, so he was classed as this brilliant coach across non-league back then, and he tried to influence Bob a little bit more. But yeah, I had 4 great years at Moor Green. Again, most of the teams that I've been at, I've always been struggling. The first year I went to Moor Green, we got promoted at the Beezer Midland League then. Which I played about 19, 20 times as a left back. But during that time, from about 17 to 19, I had a huge growth spurt. I went from sort of 5'2" to 6'2", and I was going in between full-back and centre-half then, or sweeper. So it was, sort of found my feet. I was a little bit gangly then because I was still filling out. So I was probably a late developer, with football. But the Moor Green team we had, I had good experienced players around me who had learnt a lot off, and that's what it's about doing. Young players today, you learn a lot off experienced players that you're playing against. There's played alongside, there was Bobby Coy, who had come to us from Wolves. He was very good. David Hughes, again, used to be at Villa. I think he was on the bench in the European final in '82. I played alongside him for a year, and you just pick up things, little, positional things, little comments.
Would you say like Moor Green was pivotal to shaping your career?
Yeah,
that
definitely.
time there.
It was football where I was just all of a sudden started getting paid.
Yeah.
I remember getting 20 quid a week, and at the time I lived in Kingsley, just outside Birmingham. And I remember Bob. This was Bob, where he used to come up to. He go, right, we've got a lad on loan, or he just left Wolves, called Matt Foreman. He said, lives in Cottridge, which wasn't that far away, but the opposite way I would go to Moor Green. He goes, I'll give you an extra £5 a week for petrol if you go and pick him up and bring him. Go, oh, yeah, cheers, Bob, I'll do that for you. Never got the £5. Used to spend an extra £5 ferrying him across and taking him home. But that was Bob. I got my own back on him a bit later on when a few teams came in for me.
Yeah.
I find this crazy, though, already, that you've had such a normal sort of football career from the age of, and it is a late start at 11, obviously, when you first got into that, but you've had such a normal career, and it's just, at this point, now, as we go further into this, I just find it crazy how you've just like gone bang, 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 just playing for your dad's team on a Sunday, and playing for these little, YTS teams and stuff like that on a Saturday. I find it absolutely crazy. It must have been some progression. I know that.
Definitely unassuming, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. What sort of memories or moments or highlights can you share from Moor Green and like your time there? Anything that sort of sticks out?
I think the promotion there, I went to them in the October because we played early in the Birmingham Senior Cup, so they put 7 days in for me. I wasn't on contract or anything. My dad was away at the time, and twice I was supposed to go and meet Bob and didn't turn up. And then when my dad came back, he basically came and picked me up, took me down there on a Friday night and said, right, sign. And then I played the next morning. I had 5 pints in Moor Green with Bob. And played the next day. We won, I think we won 3-2 against Kings Lynn. Yeah, I remember it well. Gave a penalty away, handball. Probably wouldn't have been given today with VAR.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, when it just started, I met good friends who I still see now. I play walking football these days, and one of the centre halves, Paul Aldridge, still play with him now, and it's Dave Feven was and these were good non-league players, a little bit older than me, but very good non-league players. And
when you signed for Moor Green, would you have said that? What step would that have been, if you can?
It's the old pyramid style, so it would have been that Spees and Midland would have been about the league that Leamington are in now.
Okay.
And then we won. We were second to Merthyr Tydfil.
Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bees and Midland don't quite cut it. Yeah. And then we went to the Premier and we had 3 years in there, and then we just never quite. We were all struggling, like I say. Most of the teams I've always struggled. We had a couple of good cup wins, whatever the league cups were back then. I remember playing at the Albion against Nuneaton. Weirdly enough, I remember beating them 5-1 with that team. There's a couple of photographs, that we share around in different groups of that day. But yeah, it was a nice time. I was married young. I wasn't one for going out on the piss, which probably saved me because I concentrated on football. I could get an income from football, and as each year went by with Moor Green and playing against other teams and leagues, people coming up. Nuneaton came in for me, and all of a sudden they offered me, I think it was 80 quid a week. Even the Atherstone might have come in for me at one stage as well. Les Green, actually, that's the name that rings a bell.
Yeah.
And offered me 80 quid a week, so as I say, I'd get my own back on Bob. Went back to Bob, they offered me 80 quid, it's not that far. He goes, we'll offer you 60. I said, Bob, it's 80 quid, I'm going over there. They want to sign me. 7 days is up, I can sign. So Bob never, he was all very stubborn. And at the last minute, he just went, look, we'll match you. I said, okay, then. And he goes, you've got to sign a contract. No, I'm not signing a contract. I said, I get 20 quid a week playing for Inter Volante on a Sunday in the Festival League. I get 80 quid here, that's 100 quid a week on top of my wages from working. Why would I go on contract for less?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the summer of that year, I remember this was the year that I moved on from Moor Green. So I went to him, look, Bob, because there was a risk of me getting injured playing Sundays as well, and then I needed the money back then. And I went to Bob, I said, look, 100 quid a week, I get 80 quid from playing Sundays, I get 20 quid from playing Sundays, I get 80 quid playing with you, 100 quid I'll sign a contract now. No. I said, okay then, I'll carry it, won't play, but just go on, there'll be a risk of me getting injured, blah, blah, blah. And then when I carried on playing Sundays, and then Coventry City came in for me. A little bit of a weird one because Barry Powell used to be at Coventry. He was doing the community scheme. There's a connection with how I currently got into what I'm doing now. He came to us in his last year playing non-league football. He recommended me to a scout, and a lot of the over this side, Ian Bettles. Is it Ian Bettles? He's again passed away now. He was a scout for Coventry City and recommended me to Terry Butcher was the manager, and that was about in November. Came to watch us play Stourbridge on a night game, playing against a former Doncaster Rovers centre forward, big physical lad, and we beat him 2-1. And I just didn't have my best game, but just happened to score the winner against him. And then they invited me via Barry. They invited me into a trial. Didn't tell Bob. Had a week off work, and then we had a game. Played a couple of reserve games. Broke my toe in the first one. Someone whacked the bottom of someone's foot, and then the week after we were playing Man United in front of 15,000 fans. It was Lee Sharp's return from injury game. They had 9 internationals in their team, and we went up there. I think we drew 1-1. Sean Flynn, who was another non-league player who'd signed at that time. Later on, he was playing, and that was, unbelievable. As it goes, didn't hear anything for ages, and then round about Christmas, they had me and said they were going to offer me a contract, and then next news I hear was that Terry Butcher had been sacked. So I'd handed my notice in at work.
Oh, really?
Britannic Assurance. It was So over Christmas, and never again, this is where football was starting to get serious. Ian Bettles, it was Ian Bettles, rang him up, what's going on? And goes, I don't know, I'll try and make some calls. And then, but luckily for me, Don Howe was Terry Butcher's number 2. And they had me in about a week later and said, look, we'll give you a contract. So they offered me I think it was a 2-year contract on less money that I was getting from playing football and working. So I signed for less. My dad got they offered me 18 months. My dad pushed it for 2.5 years because it was around about January. It must have been 91, 92, something like that. I always lose the date of when I signed. You'll probably tell me. So it was 6 months of the old first division before the Premier League. So Premier League was 92, 93. So it would have been, January 92. That's when it would have been.
How have you mentally prepared yourself from going from Moor Green to then going on trial at Coventry City? How is that, like, how did you mentally prepare yourself? Were you worried, in a sense?
I'd had a few, there's a few clubs that obviously had been watching me. There was, Birmingham, there was Walsall. I'd had a 2-week trial where I played alongside Dean Smith. Obviously, again, he's a lot younger than me. With John Barnwell was the manager then. Nothing came about with it. I think Coventry was sort of the last. There was Ian Atkins who I knew, who was he'd told them to sign me and Ian Taylor. So the Moor Green team I was in, Ian Taylor was playing centre half, and we both come through the reserves and into the first team together. And we would probably. There's another guy called Stuart Talbot who went on to play professionally at Crawley, I think it was, something like that. So we had a good young players that were sort of coming through. But mentally going, I was just excited to be,
How old would you have been?
I was 20. The Coventry trial, I was 24.
Okay.
That's quite late, isn't it,
So
compared to nowadays?
Yeah, so I went to Moor Green when I was 19, had four and a half years with them, and then signed when I was 24 for Coventry in January 1992.
That's if you compare that to nowadays, that's a late signing, isn't it, from somebody from non-league
definitely.
to...
It doesn't happen very often, obviously. A few, Danny Newton,
Jamie Vardy obviously went
Colby
from,
Bishop, players like that who sort of who have gone in, but you don't. It's very, very rare nowadays, isn't it? It's very rare.
I think football's got a way of, I'm not saying there's luck to be a professional footballer, but being in the right place at the right time with Terry Butcher and Don Howe watching me play and train, they obviously saw something. And at the time, Coventry weren't paying for any players at that stage. It was the breakup of the 87 lot. They'd signed Sean Flynn from Halesowen, they'd signed Andy Pearce from Halesowen, Tim Clark was from Halesowen and had just moved out of Coventry. So there were, Ian Bettles, he was the guy that was going around the Midlands non-league scene and picking these rough edges up, and they were going. Those players were going on to forge good careers for Coventry. Yeah.
The thing is though, like now, and I bet you've seen such a big change, because the way football was back then to how it is now is so different. And like, I imagine that it just seems then that even when I talked to my dad about football, and he was a good footballer when he was younger, it just seems so much more relaxed. Like, there wasn't any pressure. It was just, we play for England schoolboys this week, or I've got a trial here. Whereas now, I feel like there's a lot of pressure. So, you have these young lads that will try and stay in the game as long as they can, and we've had guests on that have said people hang on to League Two and try and stay there as long as they can. They don't want to drop down the leagues. And it just seems like it was so relaxed back in that day. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, you are really.
Really?
Yeah. I think there's more opportunity now. Obviously, there's academies, and they've got them at 6 years old and even younger, and that whole thing. There's whatever your thoughts on football and how players develop. I've coached in academies. I've managed. And we all have different views on how players develop. So the opportunities again, and I'm fully supportive of having good coaches coaching kids at young age. To in my time, it was proper grassroots. It was dads that were managers, and it was the ball and the shouting on the sides, and very hardly any coaching. So you can see where there's probably less coming from non-league now, but the nerves you used to get, it was no different to when you were playing for Coventry to when I was playing my first match for Moor Green, you know, because you're going up that level, you're getting paid a bit of money, you know, it all adds to it. And you just want to, my dad always said to me, just play with a smile on your face and go and try and play the best level you can. Other people are just happy to just sit, and that's fine. They might be sitting with a nice bunch of lads. I mean, you know, when we talk about managing later on, and you know, I got a group of players that wanted to be there. They wanted to socialise. Some of them have had careers and come out through injury or whatever. But it's just bringing, especially at non-league level, you can't beat that sort of everyone talks about the changing room and having that. You know, some of the guys you've had on before, you know, Guy Hadlands, you know, you would want one of him in every single change room because he just brings everyone, gets them together, and it shows on the football pitch as well. So, you know.
What sort of what advice would you give to a young player starting out similar to Moor Green and similar to you? So you've come through King's Heath and the other local teams, and then Moor Green and stuff. What advice would you give to someone who might be listening going, I'm in a similar position?
Personally, I think too many people want to get too, in their words, higher up too early. Yeah. It's about learning your trade, finding out. If some of the young parents come to me, and we have our own development centres, you know, just get your kids, and you know, I've got a 10-year-old grandson. It's the same common method. Enjoy your football. Don't worry about whether you're winning, you're losing, whether you're in an academy, out of an academy. It's about your attitude, your application, then your ability. So anyone that has the attitude where, well, look at me, I'm the best and I can dribble around everyone. But if you haven't got, you know, I always used to say work rate is everything. Just because you're the star centre forward or centre midfielder, you're just the same when we're out of possession trying to get the ball back. Don't pretend that we've just got to play around you and you haven't got to do anything because you're the goal scorer. It's not your work rate, and it creates you as a player. If you're willing to put that graft in, you'll get more respected in the game as well, and people want to. Absolutely. You know, and I say to youngsters, go and try positions, play where you can, learn the game. If someone asks you to go and play left back, don't turn around and go, oh, I'm a right back, because you'll learn something from it. Or a right winger, you'll learn how the game is played.
We had that last week. We had a guest last week, Aaron Roberts, who literally similar to you. His manager turned around to his bench and said, right, who can play left back? And he just went,
and that was he was a centre forward.
And he was a centre forward, but he was like, I'll play there.
Just get on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Just get on the pitch and play your minutes, and it'll come back. Because you'll learn. As a player, you don't understand the term game management because you're playing as an individual, maybe within a back four, a midfield three, or down the right hand side or the left hand side. And you'll be very much stick with it within that. You won't. When I started doing my coaching badges after I got injured, I learned so much more about game management, and I wish that I'd done that while I was playing because it just would have. And it's simple things like, you know, one being subbed, so you can go off and sub because I'm being subbed, but it might be actually it's 3-2. Put some fresh legs on. So-and-so's getting the best. You know what I mean? You just start to understand that side of it. So it's about your experience and developing your game knowledge, and just go and play for us. If it's a younger ones, this is personal opinion for me. Don't even think about academies till you're playing 11-a-side football.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Now, I watched that Man City documentary on Netflix.
Oh, I've just started.
And it's so strange. I heard terminology that I've never heard before, where Guardiola would sit in the changing rooms, and it was before because obviously it was the season when they won the treble, and Real Madrid in the Champions League, and he said, "These are my starters," and he didn't call them substitutes; he called them something else. I've completely forgot what it was. It was like impact or something like that. These boys come on and shore it up. These boys come on and win the game. And it was just brilliant how they put it, because they all felt a part of the team. They all had a part to play, and he named them individually and went through, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. I just find stuff like that so interesting.
That's the secret of any manager, is being able to keep your squad that's not starting happy and want to be about the place.
Hardest thing.
And that's man management, and that can't be coached. You can't coach that on the field. That's how you are. You know, we're talking about Paul Ollerman. He's got such a great, relationship with all of his his players, and you go over the years that he's been going along. I'll never forget when we were at Solihull and he went after Derek Hall, who was at Moor Green, weirdly enough, and we went and poached him. And Oogie was on the phone to him day and night. He was on relentless, and he probably bullied him into signing. But the guy goes and scores 30 goals for us, you know, and didn't really like football. Yeah.
So you spoke about this a minute ago. So we often talk about the importance of camaraderie and team spirit on this podcast. How would you describe the atmosphere within the Coventry City squad during your time there, in the changing room and stuff like that? Was it different?
Yeah, culturally it was different. Managers knew that on a Wednesday we'd have, and this is what I never got right, or never, because we'd have a Wednesday off if we didn't have a midweek game. So why we didn't go out on the Tuesday night where we had the day off the next day, I'd never know. Everyone went out on the Wednesday night, and then we had to train on the Thursday. The manager would know we'd been out. They'd run us on the Thursday, and I'm just sitting there. Why didn't we go on the Tuesday? It doesn't make sense. And then it's about characters that bring you in. So again, you know, Premier League had started. The money wasn't what it is these days. I'll never forget Mick Quinn coming to us just after about 6. I'd been there. No, it was about a year, so just before Christmas '92, and he was just all about, you know, he backed it up with on loan. He scored, I think, 10 goals on loan with us, and he just had a couple of people with him that were Paul Cook and Mike Marsh, and the three of them were Scousers, and they just loved the beer. And
Paul Cook, the Chesterfield manager now, okay.
Great characters, and I might have some in retirement, but definitely at that stage. And they were obviously living in Cov, going back at weekends, so a little bit bored. And there was a good group of us that would, but it forms, you know, when you're then playing in the team together, you create relationship. They'll go and fight for you if we're kicking off against Wimbledon. You know, you've got, you know, you don't get bullied by the crazy gang. They can be intimidating, but you show any signs against them, you've lost the game before you come out. So if you're mentally not strong, and you know they're threatening you in the walking out, as you're lining up to come out of Highfield Road, you just got to blank it out and match them, and that's where you want your teammates around you, you know, to they've got your back, you've got theirs, and that's why I think that's so important to have that. As it's changed, you know, over the years, especially with the foreign players coming in with the, you know, and it wasn't just the foreign players that brought the change of diets in. You know, we used to always eat, you know, boiled chicken and carbohydrates and load up before games, because it's, you know, it's just a common sense thing to do. We all, you know, food nutrition was not built around footballers coming into the Premier League from about 97, 98. It's been there forever. It's just whoever wanted to get on with it and adapt their whole life, which is what I think quite a few footballers do now. It's an optimum time to earn money, so, you know, don't drink, don't do anything other than be focused for football.
Yeah,
but the culture of when I was there was it was good, and that lasted for about 10 years until it probably got weaned out. But the 5 years I was there, it was all about the end of season trips going away. I always remember one. Some of the this was about 94, 95 that season. So the end of the 93, 94 season, Ryan Atkinson come in, and we got a few old pros. Dave Burrows was there. Probably didn't want to, you know, go on a end of season trips, and we were having an argument. Oh no, I'm not going. And I know, you know, I was always one that, yeah, come on, let's go. And he just come in and he went, I don't care what your wives say. They can tell him to come and see me. You can have a 2-week fine, but every single one of you are going on the end of season tour to. It was always Tenerife or Greece. You're all going. Get your wives to come and see me if they don't like it.
That's incredible.
And then I just went, go on, yes, gaffer.
It is like another family, though, isn't it? You're spending multiple hours a day with the same group of people. Obviously, I know people get transferred in and out and stuff, and I imagine that that's a really hard part of football when you're in the pro game, when people get transferred in and out and you form really good relationships with people, and then they get bigger moves or they might drop down. I imagine that's quite hard to deal with.
I think if you look at it now, so you know, what are your WhatsApp groups? That's it. Well, we didn't have phones then, so we didn't have any groups like that then. But you know, there's 4 or 5 people that I was still in a WhatsApp group from when I was at Coventry. The 2 Paul Williamses, Steve Morgan, Sean Flynn, Lee Jenkinson. That says it all.
Yeah, it
You
does,
know.
doesn't it?
And we've all finished football years ago, but we can get together on Legends Day where we'll meet up, have a drink, talk about the same stories we talk about every year, and that doesn't change. So in football, they used to say you got no friends in football because you're always moving, carrying on, and you're always at different stages. But you look at when your career's finished, and a few years afterwards, who you're still in contact with, and that's what gets formed for me back there. And the fact that I'm still playing football with, people I was at Moor Green with,
Class.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Just talk a little bit about initially when you signed for Coventry, signed the contract, and stepping into like the day one of training. How was that for you, like as the first day? And then also, were you sort of thinking, right, how far can I push this, and can I keep going to the next level or the next big team, or what was that in the mind or not?
I think there's a lot more pressure because all of a sudden it's a job, and it's I keep saying I just love playing football. I knew I could compete against them. I was pretty quick for a centre half. I would stick my head in where it hurt. Most managers would probably want me back then. I mean, it's more of a ball playing centre halves, and midfielders are now centre halves, and you can't tackle from behind, you can't tackle from the side. It's but back then you could tackle. I was honest, fair, hard. Would stick my head in where it hurted, and I think that honesty of a player held me in good stead with the managers. But going into that first training, it's just all of a sudden I was training. So I wasn't unfit because I was playing 2-3 times a week. I was training another day a week, and then I was working full time. But then when you go into training every single day, and then having a reserve game, and then do you get in the first team squad for the weekend? And for 6 months I was nowhere near the first team. My fitness was nowhere near the rest of them, and that's not my fitness as in on a pitch or on a one training day. Having to do it day in, day out. That's what I couldn't do. I had to change my diet a little bit because it was. I actually put weight on after about a month of training every single day, and I was thinking, what the hell is this? You go and see the nutrition. Well, we didn't have a nutrition. You go and see the physio, George Dalton. It was quality. George was. Go and see him, and he goes, well, what you eating? And you go, I've been eating this, and he goes, well, you're training every day now. You need to eat. Calorie intake needs to be more. You need to develop your muscles and all that muscle mass. So, you just don't worry about weight then. I was probably only about 12.5 stone then. 6'2", 12.5 stone. It was nothing. But fitness was the biggest thing that stopped me getting anywhere near. I remember. Don Howe stayed for the rest of that season, and we had a reserve game at the end. And I just remember the last game of the season, him turning round, just absolutely hammered all of us that were playing in the reserve that day, called me a big wet lettuce, and I'll never forget it. And it just drives you, just drove me on. Not the fact that he left then, but it just meant that pre-season, at the end of that season, I knew I had to carry on and do I couldn't just have 6 weeks off and come back as I was. I had to get fit to be ready to start, and that's exactly what I did. I trained all the way through pre-season, and then Bobby Gould came in then.
Okay, yeah.
With Phil Neal.
Superb. So every team, no matter what level, always has its leaders. So who were some of the natural leaders within your Coventry City squad during your time there, and what would you say the qualities they had were that made them such effective leaders, do you think?
I think that first 6 months in there, I was nowhere near the first team, so didn't really. A lot of those players were moved on as well in the summer. But that next season, when Bobby came in, you could tell what type of player he was looking for. He wanted to sort of create that crazy gang sort of feel to it. We had Robert Rosario. He transformed Robert Rosario for 2 years, for 2 seasons while he was there. Gone from a sort of a centre forward that didn't really move much or do anything, and all of a sudden he played him a little bit deeper, and all of a sudden he just became a menace in midfield, and his height and his strength. and he brought a different dimension to the team. People like Peter Atherton, who was a centre half, their young centre half, they signed from Wigan, who was a tremendous player. That good pace, quite good in the air. Wasn't the tallest, but he was very quick, read the game well. But you had experienced players like Brian Burrows. Oggy was in goal. You had Lloyd, you had Mickey Ginn. These were still players that were, just probably coming into their last year. Dean Emerson, I remember playing in the reserves. Used to learn a lot from him. Lloyd McGrath, what a character he was. Quietest man in there, but if you want someone on your side going in tackling, he would be it. It was natural for. So we had Peter and Love as well. It was those sorts of players, but it was the Peter Athertons that Stuart Robson was captain at that time when I first went. He then left, and then Peter Atherton was captain. Dion, when he came in the 94 season after Bob had left, paid $2 million for him. He was just a natural leader, and people seeing where he came from at Man United, he just bought. And that doesn't mean all of a sudden it changed the way we trained or anything like that. It just the way he was, again, loved going out for a drink. He was getting the scoops, as he always said. That getting the team together off the pitch was important as on it, because he knew that. That winning mentality, and had been around that professionalism, which he was the most influential player that came into us then. And Coventry were always a developing team. It's Bobby had a good side. I made my debut in 12 months after I'd signed. We played Norwich in a double header. Played in the FA Cup on a Wednesday night. And I played in the reserves on the Monday night, I think it was. And I always remember Pete Billing. He was just on his way out of the game. And we knew what was coming. They wanted a few squad players to go down to Norwich. They were staying for the 3 or 4 nights, and the experienced pros went, sod this, not going there. Peter Billing didn't want to go. Calf muscle after the game on the Monday night. No, wasn't injured. So then they're going round just looking for bodies to go round, and I hadn't played particularly well on that Monday, and it just came round to me. Harry Roberts, it was a reserve team manager, said, Busty, get your stuff ready. You're training with the first team tomorrow. You'll be travelling down to Norwich, and then all of a sudden, oh God. Okay, yeah, fine, fair enough. Loved it. As it was, Bobby wanted to make an example of Andy Pearce. I was rooming with Andy Pearce. We were mates from non-league. He'd played on there. We'd gone out in the cup. I came on for Lloyd McGrath in about the 91st minute. I was only on the pitch a minute, but it was my debut in the FA Cup. We lost. Bobby wasn't happy. Friday night, Paul calls me, you're starting tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, you just... Andy Pearce is my roommate. He's already been called in. Had a word with me. He goes, well, if you're starting, that means I'm not. So that was a little bit awkward. And then I just remember, phone calls to family. I've been told I'm starting tomorrow, and they're all cancelling everything they were doing and making their way down to Carrow Road. Drew 1-1. It was on Match of the Day. I was back in the pub in Kingsheath as it came on, and it was one of the greatest things I remember about. All my memories in football.
Can't beat that.
What a memory that is!
Yeah. Can't beat
such
that.
a nice memory, isn't it? Yeah. But one of the most memorable moments in your career, unfortunately, a severe leg injury you sustained during a match against Manchester United. Can you talk us through that moment and how it impacted you both, obviously physically and mentally?
Yeah, I'll go back before then, because the sort of. When Bobby left and Phil Neal took over, we sold Phil Babb and we sold Peter Atherton. I was the only centre-half left at the club. I was out of contract. So I knew I was going to be playing that season. I did. I went on and played the first 25 games of the season, all the way up till January. And then I got a hernia. It was not diagnosed properly, and I ended up having 2 hernias, and I missed the next 6 months of that season.
Okay, wow.
Ron Atkinson then came in the February. First thing Ron Atkinson said to me was, he goes, Dave Busst, isn't it? Yeah, yes, Gaffer. He goes, injured? Yes, Gaffer. you're no use to me, and carried on down the tunnel thing. So that was my first introduction to Ron Atkinson. But I admired his honesty. So that next time, so the end of the 95-year season, so 95, 96, from August to December, I got back in the team. Kevin Richardson, who Ron had brought with him from Villa, very influential with him. And, you know, I was in and out the side. I was just trying to come back from fitness, you know. My groin, a double hernia I'd had, but in 2 separate operations. And, you know, you pick up residual injuries as well. So my Achilles was killing because I hadn't done anything for so long. So I'd slowly got back to my fitness, and then a couple of good games, scoring a few goals as well in key matches. So that was me getting back in. So leading up to that weekend, 8th of April, which was 2 days ago, the anniversary.
Yeah.
We were playing Liverpool on the Saturday, Man United away, and we're still always at the wrong end of the table at that point. And we had a great result against Liverpool. I always remember Noel Whelan flicking his foot high, and the cross had gone past him, and he hooked it back into the goal. And I think we won not 1-0 or 2-1. You think I'd remember, wouldn't you, playing against Liverpool? It was 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah.
We definitely won the game. And it set us up brilliantly for going to Old Trafford. Old Trafford was very, from playing one of my trial games at Old Trafford to playing one of my reserve games at Old Trafford, to then standing next to Eric Cantona, who was in that team on that day. And that for me was like, this is it. I was only standing next to him for probably about 30 seconds because we had a corner, and obviously we had set pieces. So that's coming up to it. And when the gaffer, we were in on the Sunday, gaffer and Gordon Strachan sort of said, well, look, we're starting with the same team, so prepare yourself. And that I was playing alongside Liam Daish then. He'd just come into us the sort of 3 or 4 months before. And I was playing with different centre halves all the time, but I was playing quite a few games. And so set piece number 1 is ball into near post. Noel Whelan flicks it on. I come in at the far to get any drop down, tap in, whatever. Went perfectly. Flicked, dropped into the 6-yard area, just inside the far post. Irwin comes off his post. Brian Clare comes from behind me. So Irwin blocks my ankle, on my ankle bone, and McClare comes in quite high and hold at the back of my knee to top of my calf. And then the leg, if you're any good at physics, if you have 2 forces coming in opposite directions, there's only one way for the leg to go, and that's what happened. But a lot of stuff when I talk about it now is stuff that I've been told myself. There was Schmeichel being sick. I don't think he ever was sick. There was the bucket of water being thrown on the pitch and blood splattering up. I didn't say any of that. That's just what I've been told, because I was just lying on the floor, do not move. Something's gone wrong. So I always remember looking at the corner of my eyes. I'm lying down. I can see Dion Dublin on his haunches with a look on his face, sort of going like that. Yeah. And I can see the physios, running on and stuff like that. So it's do not move time, and.
But the pain was indescribable, wasn't it?
Pain, in my experience, it's so you scream and shout because you're painful, but the pain don't go away. So why are you screaming and shouting? So you just
good way of looking at it. Yeah.
So you just freeze.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I just didn't want to move, because if I moved, it got worse. And the one story, I mean, they laugh about it now, I weren't at the time. So Old Trafford's brilliant because the ambulances can, at the top where your players come out, the ambulance can reverse straight down onto the edge of the pitch, basically, and I'm on the stretcher going up, and stick me on the ambulance to go off to hospital. And the biggest speed bumps are at Old Trafford. So going out the ground, there must be 20 speed bumps, and it's going up, down, up, down, and it was just, honestly, it was like it happening again each time. And then it was quite weird, because Cantona, it's only me looking back on something the other day, Because I look at the team sheet, and I'm trying to remember who's playing, who played that game, and who was on the other side. And I just saw, never realised that Eric Cantona had scored the winner. I knew they'd won 1-0 because as I was just about to go under, to have my leg reset, and after they took my sock off and took my boot off and my shin pad, which again was while I was not under anaesthetic when that happened, so that was pretty painful. The porter came running down going, yes, we've just scored 1-0. Who are Cantona? And I said, oh great, cheers for that.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Just what I want to hear.
Just about to go under.
It was your tibia and fibula, wasn't it?
I had a compound fracture of the tib and fib. It was also a spiral fracture, and I also had a hematoma, which is the thing that stopped me playing again, not the leg break. Hematoma is basically a posh name for a dead leg. So it's basically, there's pressure into a muscle, all the blood goes to it, and that's why it feels painful because it's swollen, comes like that. On the right of just below my knee, which is where Erwin had hit me, again, quite high for where he was coming from. If you see the tackle, he's coming from behind to try and tackle me, which was not the right. He's just not in the right position to tackle me.
Yeah.
He's behind me and he's dangling a leg. So after a couple of days, after reset it and put it in a back slab at that time, they didn't close it completely. I had tremendous pressure in my toes. It was really painful. And I kept telling them, I said, look, my toes shouldn't be burning up like this. And that's a sign of you've got swelling, inflammation, maybe infection. So as it was, they then moved me from the orthopaedic hospital after about 18, 24 hours into under a plastic one, and they basically just sliced down the outside of the muscle. I mean, if you want me to show you for the camera, I'll show you later. And all of a sudden, the pressure was released. But what happened then was that allowed infection, and I caught MRSA in hospital. So my tendons in my right foot, four of the five that pull. I mean, I'm showing you guys here. I was left with the thumb one, which luckily for me was the strongest one. So the other four had to be cut away. This is over a certain time. It wasn't, like overnight, but it was 10 operations in 12 days. And most of those were to clean. Yeah. Because you get MRSA, it's a killer bug. You get it in the hospital, the nurses carry it around with them. And because I was probably a fit professional, youngish person, I was strong enough to fight it off. There was older people which were dying of MRSA because it's a flesh-eating bug basically, and it just didn't heal. And it didn't heal for quite a long, the actual end of it. So that it was the leg breaks. It very rare where you break your leg in the same place twice.
Definitely.
Well, normally is it the fib that goes into the tib normally, or is it the other way around, tib into fib? Normally that happens because they run parallel, don't they?
Yeah, so I always remember you say tib thick. The thin one on the outside is it's for rotational, so when you're turning. Obviously, your thick one, I think it's thick fib, your fibula. Tibula's the outside, So that's non-weight bearing, and it's for rotation and stuff like that. But I think mine went from inside to outside. Normally they break the other way, or it's full on, or it's unusual to break a leg, and from the two forces, for your leg to go out the way it did on the outside. That was just the freakness of the incident. Really.
Crazy.
Quick message about one of our sponsors, Tread. Tread offer top quality grip socks for all types of sport, available in a range of different colours. Tread won't let you slip. Check the link out in our bio or on social media, or check out treadsocks.com. Coventry City, as a fan, a very passionate fan base. How important was it to have the support of the fans during the time at the club and during the time of obviously the injury? How important was it with the fan base, and do you have any memorable interactions that the fans sort of sent you or stand out to you?
All of us remember. I was in Manchester for 6 weeks, and then I was back 2-3 times a week after, 2-3 times a week, just so I could go home and recuperate. And I remember after about three weeks, I think Jenny Paul, who was the secretary then, they said, I think they rang my mum and dad up and said, "Oh, we've got some post for you." I said, "Okay, great. Bring it up." So I remember waking up one day in hospital, and there probably must have been, I don't know, 3-4 boxes full of letters and little teddies and get well soon cards, and it was just fun. I was there for hours and hours just opening, and there was, probably for about 6 weeks there was just a constant, letters, and not just Coventry fans. The bulk were, but they were from all over the world. They were from amazing. They were from players within the game. They were, I think it's just because of how it was sort of highlighted and being at Man United. It just, and the pictures that was in the mirror and the sun of someone had caught it at the exact moment. And it's, and I always, you'll know, I've got a positive outlook on life. So I always say I could have done that at Gig Lane, playing in the reserves at Bury. I happened to do it at Old Trafford in front of 50,000 people, and he got shot all around the world. So for about 6 months afterwards, there was always that interest on what I was doing, where I was going, and that really helped because it kept me, busy and not thinking about, if I'm going to play again and stuff like that. So
did Irwin come and visit you in the hospital?
No, Norma Clare. To be honest, it was within the first couple of days. Steve Busst came and saw me with his lad Alex. And this is, you can tell how long ago, because he was about 8 years old when he bought him. There was rumours about, again, Cantona turned up, but they turned him away because they didn't know who he was. And again, I don't know these. My dad was there, but I remember talking to Steve Busst there. And I've seen him obviously a few times since, and thanked him for that. Alex Ferguson came and visited me in hospital.
Wow.
He was sat next to my mum in the waiting room, and she said to him, "Who have you come to see?" And sort of didn't know who he was, and she was just gone on probably talking about me. And then my dad comes in. Yeah. Mum talking to Sir Alex. Oh my God, and he was great. He bought me an Eric Cantona book signed by him. Of what he'd done. It was quite surreal. When I'd say I went 6 weeks, I spent in a hospital, and then I went to the hotel for like weekends and stuff like that. And the story I always tell is that reception ring up and they go, "Oh, there's a couple of United fans. Is it okay if they come up and see you?" I said, "Yeah, of course, no problem." And there was 2 visits. First visit was lad comes in, he goes, "Oh, do you mind, signing this for me?" I said, "Yeah, what's your name?" He goes, "Oh, David." And then I looked up at him, and this story gets better now because of how famous he is. Looked at him, and he's got a baseball cap, didn't he? I said, "Oh." He said, "Oh, bloody hell." I said, why are you asking? This was David Beckham.
Wow.
Wow. Now he's, asking for my autograph in a hotel room in Manchester, and and Ryan Giggs had come to see me as well. And then there was 5 of their youth team came up on different days. So it was just real nice touch. Big one, I brought the lads to see me as well. But football goes on, no matter what injuries happen. And you have to train, you have to play. So it's hard for anyone to come. I had one of my best mates, Paul Williams, at the club, and still is to this day. He was, luckily it came to the end of the season, and then he was taking me up to Manchester 2-3 times a week, just to have a different change from family and things like that. And you remember things like that.
Absolutely.
And you don't forget those things in a hurry.
Superb. So obviously, despite the injury, you remained involved with Coventry City in various roles after retiring from playing. So can you tell us a little bit about your transition from player to the other roles within the club that happened?
Yeah, so I spent a year out, so 96 to 97. I was recovering from my injury. I did my coaching badges over that year. Our academy started up in about 97, 98. So I asked, look, I was doing my B licence, I think, at the time. and you needed a team. So I took the under-11s. Barry Powell, again, who we talked about earlier, he was the community manager. They just had a big launch. There was me, Lloyd McGrath, Jez Murphy we were talking about before. They'd employed sort of 5 people into 5 areas across Coventry and Warwickshire. Jez covered Nuneaton, Bedworth. I had Coventry, Lloyd had Stratford, another lad who had Kenilworth and Balsall Common and other bits of Warwick. So it was just I'd always planned on, you know, get to 35, go back to non-league, earn as much as I could, and then go back to my job, which was, you know, I was a mortgage pensions advisor at the time. Once you've been in that football world and that environment, you don't want to do that. You have to do it because it's what pays the bills. So I wanted to stay in the game, and Coventry had given me an extra year on my contract to see what I wanted to do. And then the year after, I was still doing some of my badges, and then I started. Barry said to me, "Do you want to come in and coach in the community, just football?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know, give it a go. It'd be good to get, you know, alongside my badges." Doing my A licence, I needed a 11-a-side team. So I ended up a couple of years later managing Tamworth Ladies.
Okay, incredible.
Weirdly enough. Because it was doing my A licence and needed an 11-a-side team, and that brought me on to then going into... So I was having a bit of a hybrid role of coaching in the community in Coventry, doing my coaching, and then I was doing the youth team at Solihull Borough, and then I got the chance in 2000 to be the manager. They approached me, and that's when I stopped Tamworth Ladies, because that was the year before. And that's when I met Paul Oliver. He was my number 2. We had a great, 4 or 5 seasons together. And so it was a nice transition into it. And I was finding football back then, and probably is a little bit now, it was about who you knew, not what you knew.
Absolutely.
So none of the team that I was with were, they're all, I was late coming in, they're all probably younger than me, so they're not getting jobs in football to go, oh, right, I'll bring so-and-so in, or things like that. And that never sort of happened. So I'd sort of formed my own route with training with the academy, the under-11s, and had different age groups over the years, to non-league football, which, as you know, is not just a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. It's phone calls every night of the week. It's, for about 4 or 5 years, I was 6-7 days a week in football, and it was because you're trying to make it as high as you can. Left Solihull, went to Evesham, and then probably had most success at Evesham.
You did.
Kept him up that year.
Because you won a promotion as well, didn't you?
And then the next year we went up, and it's when the leagues were changing to the promotion. You had the top so-and-so teams went into playoffs and things like that, and we managed to go up there, and that was brilliant. Yeah.
Dad, do you think that, I know this is quite a hard question, do you think if the injury wouldn't have happened, you'd have still gone into management come the end of your playing career?
I'll be honest, I just don't know the answer to that. The PFA were always wanting to learn a new career from... Most players would do some sort of... I remember going to Henley College in Coventry and doing a bar management course, on a Wednesday afternoon, just because it was something the PFA was encouraging you to do, and it was, we never finished it. You just wanted to go home. It was a Wednesday. We always went out on a Wednesday. So
I'd have had one there.
Yeah. So that was pretty surreal. I always remember some of the Northampton players were on the same course as well, and it just dwindled us away. But I appreciate what it was. But like I say, the way I came into football made me appreciate football probably more than people that were expected to go into it.
I can see that.
I know what it's like to be working full time, playing twice a week. And I used to play Saturdays and Sundays then, and I'm not saying it's about understanding the need and appreciating what you've got. Whereas if you've always had it, you take it for granted. Whereas some of the younger lads that I saw that were great ability-wise, but I talked earlier about having attitude, application and work rate. They're the biggest skills in football. The ability comes at the end. So many people had more ability than me, but they probably didn't have the previous 3. And managers wanted that in certain positions, you know. And you probably, you know, looking out at Atherstone here, you go out there, you want your spine or your midfield. Imagine at the level you've got lads that are, you know, strong, solid, you know, put a tackle in, put a shift in, because that's what you do. You build your spine in non-league.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. What was your biggest challenge you found as a manager?
Oh,
Because you're not in management now. All right.
yeah. The biggest challenge was probably, I've always found that I can, because of my injury, it was a door opener. People straight away knew where I'd been from, and so you have to earn respect. But I think in the initial meeting of players or a group or anything like that, I'd sort of got that because I'd come up from non-league, I'd played in the Premier League, I got injured in my career. So there was like the nice story which people like to, but you've got to maintain that. And I was just always honest, and I believed in constructive criticism, focus on the positives, which, you know, as the coaching was changing over the years, they're good ways to do it. You don't want to hammer people all the time. Sometimes you don't need a good cop, bad cop, you know, and Oogie was probably the other side to me, you know, and I would, you know, have a chat with them and probably give them a little bit more technical information about, you know, if it was the defenders or things like that, just little one-to-ones, and have a word with them and things like that. So I think there was more of that. And because I was new to coaching, I wanted to, you know, I remember going into Evesham and I had all these quotes around the dressing room and things like that, just, you know, trying to get people to, you know, read them, what do they mean, why have we put that in, you know, a bit like Ted Lasso. You know.
Ted Lasso, I still ain't watched that yet.
Believe.
Yeah.
Talk about your current role now. So you're head of community at Coventry City. What does that involve, and what's your day-to-day look like?
Changed. So 2003 was a key time because the current head of community left, and I was offered the role. And at that time, again, I was still managing at Solihull Borough. So I did that, then went into Evesham. So it was about 2006 where I left Evesham. And I had to make a decision then, because do I stay in football and wait for, you know, maybe a 1 or 2 year contract? And at that stage, I didn't know anyone. You know, I hadn't been offered younger team. I think I was doing under 15, 16s at Cov and coaching in the community. And it was very much at that stage always around football orientated, bibs, balls, cones, after school clubs, holiday clubs, Saturday clubs, you know, bread and butter of your football coaching journey. So I had to make a decision. Where's my future? Where's it? It's not coming the other way. So I decided, right, I'll stick to this, and I'll still do a bit of academy. I didn't get back into managing non-league, so I then went back into the academy again. So I had 3 stints to the academy over different years alongside my role. But eventually, the role was changing. So it wasn't just bibs, balls, and cones. In 2008, we became a charity. We were able to draw down some funding from the PFA, percentage of the TV deals. So it meant we could we could employ more staff. And it was going away from just football. So it was about, you know, have you got an inclusion offer? Have you got a health and well-being offer? Have you got education, employability? We were using football in many different ways than just kids coming on, you know, camping, holiday camps and things like that. There was different opportunities with funding to use football as a tool to engage people. Absolutely, and not just those who are interested in football. And so I'm giving you a quick 5 minute because I wouldn't want to bore you, but if you go back to 2024 now, we now run over 40 projects a week, and it's talking about men's talk, women's talk, kids talk, it's dementia active groups, it's cancer support groups, it's education employability, it's anti-social behaviour on the deprived areas across Coventry and Warwickshire. We run exercise on referral courses from, not courses, but from GPs, you know, people that are probably obese and they need a way to get back. So we're using physical activity in the badge of Coventry City because you'll engage people in a much better way. Absolutely. And if you offer opportunities of completing courses and getting a chance to come on a match day and go around the pitch and flag wave and do all that. So, I'll just give you a quick.
No, it's amazing stuff.
16, 17 years, and and the stuff of how we put back in. So we've gone from, I don't know, probably with turnover back in 2008 of around 300,000, and it's all put back in.
Yeah,
we have to pay staff and we have costs and equipment and stuff like that, but the majority are put back into activities, whereas our accounts for 2023 were 1.5 million. We run facilities, so we had a 2.2 million facility in partnership with President Kennedy School. We run a player development centre that's got 500 kids. We've got 35 grassroots teams. We've got walking football teams. We've got disability teams.
It's amazing.
Brilliant.
That's the impact.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's brilliant stuff. It really is. It really is. You did go back to football though. You did make a return for Highgate. Is that right? I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
And I did find that you sort of made up. You played for Highgate. Talk about that time being on the pitch.
Highgate my dad managed Highgate United. He also managed Evesham when I was playing. And then afterwards he went to manage Highgate. But it wasn't when my dad was manager of Highgate, because me and my brother played for Highgate. But my brother was manager of Highgate United, assistant manager to a lad called Pete Frayne. And I think they just had somebody I had the flu at the time. And they rang me up on a Saturday morning and said, we've got a cup match. I think they're playing, it was over at Stratford. Is it Alveston who play just down the road from Stratford?
Alvechurch.
No, on the road into Stratford. It is Alveston, isn't it? Not Alveston, no. Begins with an A. Armitage. Whatever club that were playing in the Midland Com.
Okay.
It was up there. And it just got, we need our centre-halves. We haven't got a centre-half. We can sign you on. We went and faxed it, signing on form, because it was a cup match. You were allowed to do it. And I just had one. I think I had one game there for them. But I played for Highgate, weirdly enough, when I was at Moor Green.
Yeah.
Because I'd had a knee injury, nothing serious, and there was no reserves at Moor Green at the time. So Dad was manager of Highgate, so come and play for Highgate for a bit, get your fitness back, and it worked out. So that was the first time at Highgate, and then I went back again with that. But I also had a couple of games with Knoll FC, because my brother and Pete then went and managed Knoll. And that was, I always remember Pete, they were paying about £5 a player there. And Pete was a proper character. And he came up to me, he goes, you don't need the £5, do you? He said, we've got a centre forward here that I want to keep. I want to offer him a bit more money. I'm asking a couple of players to give up their £5. I said, yeah, of course. I'm not saying it was nothing. I said, look, at that stage it wasn't about having money. I was just thankful I could go back out and play at some level. And so going on through the season, I just played whenever they were short, or a few players in there. I remember going, I think it was Andy Oliver, his name might have been, centre forward, good little winger, very quick. A couple of teams were in for him. I went up to him, he goes, I'm glad I've helped out with you getting you extra money and you staying with us and that. He goes, good, what you on about? I said, I'm on the same money I signed at the start of the season. So Pete was just putting the money in his back pocket. Gone round 3 or 4 players, so...
How did you perform? How was it coming back to playing though? How did you
I didn't kick. So times are a little bit weird with me. I remember I was 28 when I got injured. I was 29 about 2 months later. I didn't touch a football for about 3 years afterwards. I just couldn't watch football. I'd go and watch Noel play, and I'd be like wincing. I'd be looking away. I'd see 2 players coming to tackle, and I end up going in the bar, or not going to watch. And then slowly, it was on a Sunday night. Again, it's about your mates, and not necessarily your football mates. So, a lad that I knew as a kid when we were like 3 or 4, our families, used to live by each other in West Heath, and we just kept in touch. Our mum and dad's kept in touch, and through your mum and dad, you naturally come in. There's another lad who plays walking football with us now. I've digressed then. What were we talking about? That's thrown me. Oh, so sorry, yeah. So here on a Sunday night with a group of lads that worked at hotels used to have like a game on a Sunday night, sort of 6 till 7 o'clock, go and have a curry afterwards, and that was perfect. I used to go and play right back, and the rule was you couldn't tackle me. Yeah, and it was great, and it just and slowly over about another 2 or 3 years, it just got my confidence back. I was then running a bit better. I built my muscles back up, but it gave me a bit of confidence and then. Then I said, look, forget all this, don't tackle. I said, I'll either jump out the way myself or I'll just don't be put off. That's not fair. And then one day I think I just went for a tackle and thought nothing of it, and then come back later, I thought, oh, bloody hell, I went right through, fair tackle. Right through. And it's just building that confidence back up. And then at over 35s was when I went to watch my old Moor Green lads who were playing for Triple X in the over 35s league, and I was coming up to over 35. And I was watching them play, and I just said to them, I can play this. I was looking around, and they were going, no, don't. We don't want you to. I said, set off. I said, I'll come and play. And then it just, again, that confidence of playing, and I loved it, and I loved my football. Again, that's why I still do walking football now. That's why I'm playing over 35s. One of the lads the other week asked me to play asked me when I was 57. Because I qualified for the over 57 walking football team. I went, not yet, mate. I'm still playing over 35. Yeah. Maybe a couple of years. Yeah. But I just love playing football. You know.
Definitely.
Looking back on your whole career now, Dave, what are you most proud of accomplishing, both on and off the pitch, would you say?
I think off the pitch is naturally what Sky Blues in the community bring.
Absolutely.
I've got a great team behind me. We're building bigger, better things. We're looking to grow facilities, provide more opportunities for young people through the power of football and the badge of Coventry to, create opportunities and, have an impact on kids from either 2, 3, 4 years old up to walking footballers who are 80, 90. So how we've grown our community scheme during that time, and I've been there, 27 years now. I've been there 32 years, if you include from 92 up to now. So, we talked earlier about the Cov fans, and still all the way through, there's still that support there. And they're absolutely brilliant. I've got so much time for them, and I think on my bio it's adopted Coventry City fan. Since 92, it's something like that. I think on the pitch was just. Going from non-league to playing in the Premier League, and I still you look at Coventry's, when they came out of the Premier League, and you look at all those players that come all the way through, and even our players now, and it's not saying, oh God, you're no good, you've not played Premier League, but I think it's knowing that Premier League is as good as league as it is or was or both. It's a very small percentage of people play in the Premier League, and you're just talking about it, and I don't like talking about myself, and I'm quite a humble person, and it's and I get embarrassed when people ask me who my favourite player I played with or against, and then
oh no,
you're joking. Coming up in a minute.
Yeah, because I just find it hard, that hard, because it's just have gone into it the way I did, and that's not just me on my own. As I say, I've got a great support mechanism, which was my family that really kept me going after my injury. They're success stories which you don't normally talk about, really.
Definitely. It's been amazing. I'm gonna ask one more question. Who's going to win? Coventry or Man United FA Cup semi-final? And are you going?
I am going. I've bought my tickets. The club gave our community scheme an allocation, which we've paid for. Yeah. Before anyone starts saying, "Oh, why have you got the thing?" So so I'm definitely going. It's the FA Cup. It's a one-off. It's Man United on paper should beat us, but you could say that to all the other teams.
We're doing well at the minute. We are in some good form at the minute.
We had training last night, and obviously it had already been played by now by the time that this goes out, but we've got Solihull Moors tomorrow in a cup game, and they're a league higher than us. But we've played 3 or 4 teams from the league above and beat them. So there were 64 teams in this competition. Now we're in the final 4. And the manager, Wayne Hadley, who I do it with, has said, who'd have thought that Coventry City would have gone to Molineux and beat Wolves?
Yeah, definitely.
And they didn't just beat Wolves.
Yeah.
They beat them convincingly. Like, they were the better team on the day by an absolute country mile. I'll say it. I think Cov are going to beat Man United. I really do.
I think,
and I'm not a Cov fan.
I think they've got to be at their worst. We've got to be at our best.
Yeah.
But we've got the way we've got current players of Hadji and Ellis, you know, scoring goals and being a nuisance. We'll rattle them.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
as I say, Robbins will this be a bigger game for him to prove himself. Back at Old Trafford.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's what the FA Cup's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I've already booked my hotel for the
Definitely.
for the final. So
Yeah.
Superb.
Brilliant. We are going to go on some quick fires.
How are we going to get on with these then?
Yeah, obviously you have just said that you're not a fan of when people do ask who your favourite player is.
people think I name drop. I'm not. You ask me a question, I'll answer it.
Yeah.
We've had some big name drops on here, mate. Don't worry about it. Some big ones.
But yeah, we're going to have some quick fires, a little bit different. So we are going to say who's the best player you've played with. If you can name a few. That's fine.
I always go to Alan Shearer before his knee op, and I played against him after his knee op, but he was a lot quicker. Before, and he had a best.
Who's that for, Dave?
It was Blackburn, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we beat them 5-1 and we lost 4-0
Yeah.
to them. So playing against him, and Ian Wright. Because Ian Wright was a non-league boy as well.
Yeah,
scrapper.
he was. Yeah.
And had some good battles. Drew 0-0 at Highbury, not Highfield, Highbury. And it was just a whole different. He was a scrapper.
What about with you, like alongside you, like as a teammate?
Alongside me, Paul Williams.
Yeah.
Solid. Played midfield, played centre back, and I mean, you know, a hard man as well. He would have my back, and still does. And Dion Dublin.
Yeah.
Class.
You know, definitely.
Was he when he was at Coventry? Was he more of a centre half or a centre forward?
Dion was out and out centre forward.
Right.
Don't think he started playing centre half till
Latter.
a couple of times for Villa and then Norwich and Celtic. Yeah.
Okay.
He was scoring too many goals the other way.
Superb. Away from football, what's your favourite takeaway, Dave?
Oh, well, I've switched since I'm disgusted with the standards of takeaway Indian food. So I have a brand called Charlie Bigham's, which you get from
I've seen those.
Tesco's. So I have
I've
a
seen those.
madras and a Tesco's naan bread for
Love
about
that.
£9.50, and the quality is unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, talking about the CBS Arena, there's one opposite. It's called Cushy Grill. Unbelievable. Indian. Oh, so good. So
love
good.
that.
I've been there plenty of times.
What about like favourite TV series, programme? What do you like to relax to?
I like these days. I like Kin. I like the drug cartel ones.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we've all watched them during COVID, but anything that's got a drug story. I'd love the Rise of the Foot Soldier. All of those going on. Pat Tate, know all about him. You know, I watch them more often than not on the weekend. And Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon, if I'm in, it's on repeat going round.
Superb. Who was your idol growing up?
As I said, I was a bit of a Leeds. Well, not a bit. I was a Leeds fan. So
Yeah.
Alan Clark was always. I loved, and my range of Leeds players could be over about a 10-year period. But Alan Clark, Peter Lama, Trevor Cherry, Joe Jordan, Gordon McQueen, Terry Connor was even in there when he was at Leeds towards the end. So the Greys, the Greenoffs, David Harvey. That's to say, they're spanning about 10 years. They are. So
Superb.
What
I used
about
to love them.
Yeah. What about best manager you played for? That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I think the combination of Ron Atkinson and Gordon Strachan was the best. And if you asked any of our players there, they would stay the same, because Ron was one of the proper old school managers. He was a great man motivator. He knew how to motivate a team. Strachan was just coming in from his playing role. He was player coach, serious side of him. And that time of where the two of them connected was the best for any players that were there then.
Yeah, brilliant.
Phil Neal was gave me, played me a lot and had a lot of confidence in me. And Bobby gave me my debut.
Yeah.
So I probably named them all now.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's no, they all deserve a shout out.
I don't think you're going to like this one, Dave. Biggest name in your phone book?
Oh, gosh, biggest name in my phone book?
Who would you say?
Well, now Jude Bellingham's so famous, his dad, Mark.
Mark, yeah.
What I got, yeah. Mark Bellingham.
I had him down into when Sunderland played Sunderland early in the season. His mum and Jude.
But
Mark came in the box.
Mark's come from a similar background, though, isn't he?
Yeah, non-league
Leamington.
Yeah, he played. I had Mark playing over 35s. I was managing Whitchell Wanderers, and Mark was again top goal scorer.
Yeah.
So he's probably on the back of Jude.
Great
definitely. Did you have any superstitions when playing or anything like that? No, just get me out there.
I was one of them that thought if I have a superstition and then something goes wrong, then no, I've just got changed.
Yeah,
fair play.
Yeah. The only thing I used to do is whenever we came out after the warm up, so when you're coming out onto the pitch, I'd just always sprint the first 10 yards. I think everyone does that.
Yeah. Can you remember the first ever live game of football that you went to, Dave?
Oh, yeah, that would be Warwick Social. My dad, as I say, he ran football teams.
Yeah.
And he used to take me and my brother to those games. And they were Warwick Social and then the Red Lion. They were like works teams.
Yeah.
They all worked together and then they played cricket in the summer and football.
What about professional?
Oh, God.
Would it have been a Leeds game?
That I went to or that I...
to watch live.
I'll tell you what I used to do. I used to go and watch Moor Green play. I used to I used to live in Solihull, and I used to get on a bike and go and watch Moor Green play. When I was like 15, 16, I used to love that, the non-league.
Class.
Superb.
I had a few quid for me burger or something.
Yeah.
And I was cycling it's about 5-6 mile away. So it's
What about favourite holiday destination? Where'd you like to go?
Pontins as a kid.
Yeah.
Grew up on Pontins. Mum and Dad have got a caravan down in Brixham, so we still go as a whole family there.
Yeah, I love it.
Sorrento abroad.
Yeah, nice.
And the last one, mate. Best team night out you've ever had?
That would be Christmas, fancy dress. We called ourselves F Troop. We were all, the lads I mentioned to you earlier, there was 7 of us and we were all the boots, the army boots on, the dog tags, we had the camouflage, and we went round Leamington, ended up at the Chesford Grange. We were staying there into the nightclub, drinking round there, and it was just that. We had little name tags put down, and then Mick Brown, who was Phil Neal's assistant then, just nicknamed us F Troop then. So, yeah, definitely best night.
Hot stuff. Dave, Busty, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. What an incredible story and journey. And thank you for sharing it. And we wish you all the best for the future and whatever you go into and with Coventry City. And we wish you the best.
Cheers for inviting me.
Thank you very much, mate.
Play up Sky Blues.
Dave, that was superb. Thank you so much, mate.